Good morning. Good morning. We both have our coffee as usual.
I am on my second cup and it's still not quite kicking in just yet, but we're getting there. Well, Liana, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the concept of having a personal board and what that means, because I know that when you mentioned it to me before, I was like fascinated by the concept. I thought it was a great idea. And I think that so many other women could benefit from having that. Myself included, probably could have benefited a while ago. So I'd love to talk about that and share that with whoever's listening at the moment.
Yeah. So I've had a personal board for about a year and a half now. In 2019, a friend of mine invited me to a conference called the Ascend Summit in New York City through Columbia University. And with my 20 years of volunteer work in women in business and in my own profession, it was a great conference to go to. It was all about women in business and empowerment, and personal and professional aspects were part of the whole discussion. And after that conference, my friend reached out to me, and she's like, let's invite a couple of people and let's keep this going. Let's keep ascending. So that name stuck, and we call ourselves Keep Ascending. We meet once a month, and it is really focused on our professional lives. It's an eclectic group of women. There's just 6 of us in total. And again, we started out as friends, and we each invited a couple of people who really are very different stages in what they're doing. So many of us are entrepreneurs, and also just from a variety of backgrounds, but also just really share an interest in bettering kind of where we're going in our career and in life. And so we call it a personal board, and we meet once a month and we talk about business, but it's quickly evolved, it evolved over several months into speaking about more personal matters. And it's just been great, really valuable. But Michelle, I feel like, we had our own mini personal board, the 2 of us, for years. So
I know. I was going to say, I wish that I had a personal board. It sounds wonderful, but basically I have a board of 1, and that's you. Like, I call you, Liana, what do I do? Or, I have a few very close friends who are women and have, become very successful in the business world, like you and a few others, and, would call them, and that would be, I guess, what I would consider my personal board. But I think the idea of having everyone together at a specific time and date to focus on whatever issues are at hand to keep, as you said, keep ascending, like, that's a really powerful thing. It's really motivating. It helps keep, you focused on your goals. And if you feel like you're floundering, there's someone to like throw you a life raft and say, come on back to the boat. We got you.
Right. And we just, we revisited kind of our whole purpose and reason for being and stuff. And it was just great to hear each of us kind of reflect on what we've gotten out of it. And so it's exactly what you just said. Like, we just feel supported if we have a specific question, an issue. Often it's a work issue. So it might be needing to fire somebody. So that's one of the members who is in a corporate setting and has a team below her, and she, comes up with these concerns, and we'll reflect on that. To another friend who has a small business, and she has a legal background, but she gets a lot out of talking to women in business, just for some business support. But more importantly, she said it was because being an entrepreneur is lonely. And then, there's other, aspects of it that can really help people who maybe are taking a break from from their career and the work world. So they, can get a lot out of something like this, where it's giving them an idea about what they can do going forward.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, because I think what I loved about that is the idea that here's someone who's high up in her career, and she's struggling with something that's very real and could happen to a lot of women in the work, where they come up to a point where they have to fire someone. And she's probably done this before, and that's never an easy thing to do, no matter how many times you may or may not have done it. And each case is unique and different. But I think the interesting thing is, with this personal board, not just getting support and understanding from people who have done it in the past and how they've done it, but also I think the perspective of people who haven't had to do it, but can lend a really interesting viewpoint to that situation of how they wish someone had approached it with them, or how they would approach, So I think that the idea of having a group to pull from, like this mind share, right? Of
Absolutely.
to of all different industries or all different levels in stages in life to share ideas, because anyone can have a great idea. They may not have implemented it because they didn't have a need to, but it could be really valuable.
Yes.
um,
And the
so
mind share is it's such a great it's so great that you just phrased it that way, because that's exactly what it is. And it's these wonderful minds coming together. And this whole concept actually was started so many years ago. So I read something after we first started it. I was just really interested in this whole idea, even though we came to this like in a very kind of organic way. I was looking up this idea of mastermind groups. And this was started, or maybe not started, but made famous by Andrew Carnegie and JP Morgan. They, and amongst
oh yes,
others,
wait, I
and they
just
had a mastermind group.
I saw that. Did you ever watch the History Channel, like The Men Who Built America?
No, but I'm sure they talked about this, right? So
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
search on mastermind group, this is a prominent idea, and they really, kind of supported the idea and the fact that they helped each other. They were in different industries, they were barons, of industry at that time, but they really got a lot out of speaking to each other, and also the idea of not of doing it outside of work. So going back to the one member of our group who had to fire somebody, she can go to her boss, she can go to HR, she can get counsel within her company, but she really felt like it was so important to talk to this group of
Mhm.
friends. This group has really become friends and professional peer mentors, just to help her through kind of the personal side of it. And another thing that, Michelle, you and I've talked about, that professional is personal. Your professional life is personal and individual. Another thing that we each said separately was we weren't even aware that it would also be an ongoing support network. So we do have a chat, we have a WhatsApp chat where even between meetings, somebody can send out a message like, hey guys, you might be specifically, I'm thinking about this issue. Does anybody have time? And that could be a conversation, or it'll be a text conversation where I have a friend who's starting a new business as a side gig, one of the women who has a full-time job, but she's starting a side gig. And she literally was like, hey guys, we're trying to decide a new name, and here's 4 names, rank them. And it's just like, we really can do like a quick check-in like that as well. So it can really be in a variety of formats.
And
And we used to meet in person. So we used to meet in person, but now it's worked over this past year in the pandemic. It's worked really well online.
have you felt any loss of, impact that this group has had because it has gone online, or has it remained strong?
It's remained strong and maybe even gotten stronger, because I remember our last face-to-face meeting was a year ago in March in person. And we were all like talking about, this is going to be a big deal. This pandemic is going to be a big deal. And then we bonded, over that. I think many people have, over the concerns and how it's impacted our personal and professional lives. But in our last conversation, we were kind of lamenting like, oh, we can't wait till we can get together again. And it was an 8 a.m. meeting before work started for most people, like in person. We'd have breakfast. The member who works for McKinsey, she has this amazing office space and would provide breakfast. So we, to somebody's, we could meet at a coffee shop around the corner, but we do miss that. But we've realized that hybrid model works. You do what you need to do.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, having that group to turn to, especially during COVID, like how lucky you were to have that. How much of what you guys ended up talking about became personal? I'm just curious. Like, it started with this idea to help professionally and help keep ascending, but there's ascension in profession, and then there's inner personal growth or personal lives, or becoming better parents, or becoming a better spouse, or just fulfilling our own personal growth needs. And do you find that you guys talk a lot more about personal stuff than you thought you would?
Definitely more than we thought we would. Absolutely. And that's also what a couple of members just said. And 2 of whom, when we started, didn't have children, and 4 of us did. And now one just had a baby and one just announced she's pregnant. But so I used to feel guilty at the beginning. We talked about how hard it was to get there on time because we had to get our kids off to school. And then you're like, oh, but you then be mindful that they didn't have children. And now, but they were like, no, no, this is so helpful. You're just, introducing this whole other kind of perspective on work-life balance. And now that one of them just had a baby a month ago, she's like really benefiting from us talking to her about maternity leave and stuff like that. So again, it's just also integrated, like nothing professional is not personal. So that's been really good. But we do try to keep it balanced. So sometimes we'll talk the whole time about personal things, which is helpful. But then we'll say, okay, next time, I really want to talk about getting funding for this new business. So we really try to, I think there's one or two people that ends up stepping up. It's probably myself and my friend who started it. And we'll say, oh yeah, let's actually focus this on one topic. So we're making sure everybody's getting the value that they want.
That's great. Yeah, imagine having a guide to facilitate the discussion on some level could be very helpful.
Exactly. So I've actually been creating that, and I'd love to, you and I are going to develop that. I hope for this community that, we're starting is just, I really put a lot of structure into, these are the topics we should cover. This is what kind of the lessons learned from the last 2 years of this group that I've been part of, but then also there's so many other people I know who are benefiting from this. A lot of men actually do have personal boards. I have a couple of really good friends who've been doing this in California for a while. But lessons learned from them too. And it takes commitment too. So we have all stuck with this for the last 2 years. And these other friends that I know who have very focused personal boards, my male friends, like they are like, you will get kicked out if you miss like 3 or 4 meetings in a row, which is 4 months. I mean, that's a significant period of time. And it can vary, you can tailor your group to what you need, but just setting structure and boundaries, I think is really helpful at the end of the day. So yeah. So we're going to explore more of this, right? We got to keep talking
about
it.
What I love about that, we are, yes, we're going to keep talking about it. I hope that I'm looking forward to developing a personal board because it sounds so, just useful and valuable. And the one thing that struck me as you were talking about that is I love that it kind of incorporates self-care because you probably get a lot of personal nourishment just from connecting with other people, being able to share, being open to other ideas. And that is also self-care. Self-care isn't just about necessarily going for a run or making sure you get your exercise or eating well or taking time out to, enjoy the view somewhere. It's also really about nourishing your own needs and your own need to grow. And I think that's something that, just struck me as you were talking about how
absolutely
what a great thing this is to do for yourself, not just for your growth, but for you, to nourish yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that you just made me think like a few months ago, I was just looking into, kind of keeping your brain sharp as I approach my halfway mark, half a century mark, I should say. There's still a couple of years, but that how important it is to take care of your brain. But one of the most important methods of doing that is just taking a walk with a good friend, having a conversation like this with a good friend. So yep, that's definitely, and that is scientifically proven, as we both know. So,
yes, it is. Well, I hope that, we've given people a lot to think about, the value, who is it that they turn to when they have, an issue, and is it, people in all different areas. For this, I call this person. For, a work-related issue, I call this person. Or for that, personal issue, I call this person. But how nice to have a whole group of people that meets, on a regular basis, that you can also text in a group to say, hey guys, I have an emergency. Actually, my group of work colleagues from years ago, we're still very close and we're on a chat. And there was one phrase that we used to use when we had to talk immediately as a group, and it was DE. And I'm going to attribute this to my friend Meredith Campbell, but it was called a dire emergency. So it's, guys, I have a DE. We need to talk sometime today. So who's your DE group? I like that. Your personal advisory board and your DE group. So hopefully we've given you guys a lot to think about. I know I have. And you are certainly in my DE group, Liana.
You too, exactly. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.